can start now, okay? Good evening, Japan, and good morning, Brazil. Welcome to Renato Brandão Live, our streaming that goes online every Saturday night and once a month in English. And today, Renato Brandão is in English because we have a wonderful guest who is now being called the new Lisa Ono, a wonderful voice from Australia. And Emily Tam will be with us in a moment, and she's even going to sing some songs for us tonight. I hope you will love and enjoy this incredible talent. There she is, Emily Tam, singer from Australia. She sings a wonderful bossa nova, and that's why I wrote the swing. She has this swing, this feeling that feels to me very Brazilian, even though she is from Australia. I hope you'll enjoy meeting her, and please participate, send her questions, talk to her, and she will love your participation. But as I said, write that name down because I really think she's the new Lisa Ono, as people are talking about, and she has everything to become a huge hit in the world of music, especially in the world of bossa nova, this incredible style from Brazil that never comes out of fashion, does it? It's always there. People love it. We hear it everywhere. And interestingly enough, for people who maybe are not Brazilian, you may not know this, but bossa nova is listened to more outside of Brazil than in Brazil nowadays. For us, bossa nova has is something from the past, and we have so many different rhythms that came in and stuff. But the moment I left Brazil, I was so surprised to see how popular it still is. It always has been everywhere. You listen to bossa nova here in Tokyo, in so many places. You go to a cafe, they're playing bossa nova. You go to interior design shop, and they're playing bossa nova. And really interesting tracks that I didn't know, even though I was Brazilian, like from the late 50s, early 60s, lovely treasures. And of course, they have a huge following. So bossa nova artists who have stopped doing shows in Brazil a long time ago, they are still they're still doing it. They're still playing bossa nova here in Japan. They come, they fill the theaters, and they have you go to the shops and you go to the sites and you can find all these incredible rarities. Nowadays people don't buy CDs anymore, but I remember a couple of years ago we had some artists coming to play in Japan, and I would interview them for television and stuff. And Stephen Morgan, good evening, welcome. Nice to see you from Wakoshi in Saitama. Lovely to have you here with us. And today we're going to listen to a singer. Stephen is also a wonderful singer. So I hope you will enjoy and appreciate Emily's talent. But as I was saying, that the Brazilian musicians would come to Japan and to play, and I would interview them and do programs with them, and they would say, "Could you please take me to this shop?" And usually, it would be HMV, in Shibuya, and they had a list of CDs they wanted, and they were like Brazilian CDs, Brazilian artists CDs that they wanted to have because they couldn't find them in Brazil, but they were still available here in Japan. It was really, really interesting. Aru Albuquerque, good evening, welcome. Let me just play here so I can watch you guys on my computer as I'm talking. But anyway, that's our live today. For those who are seeing me for the first time, Renato Brandão live streaming is on every Saturday night at 9 p.m. in Japan, 9 a.m. in Brazil. So 9 in the morning. We changed the times. This is my first live streaming in English this year. I've already had a couple in Portuguese, but since January we were able to find this time, which is a little bit more comfortable, and we seem to have a better response at that time, 9 p.m. And also in Brazil, of course, 9 a.m. is far better than 7 a.m. when people are having to get up too early to see me. In Australia, unfortunately, it became very late. So thank you so much, Emily, tonight for staying up, because it's 11 p.m. in Sydney and Melbourne in Australia, where lots of our viewers are. In England and in Portugal, that's 12 noon now. So good morning to you. 1 p.m. in continental Europe. So if you're in Paris, if you are in Germany, good afternoon to you and welcome. And these are our times. So this live started some time ago as a way to, counterbalance this kind of dark times we're going through. So we're trying to make it, an antidote to the pandemic. So I hope everybody's able to switch off a little bit and think about nice things and find some hope, yeah, and find some new ways to live in this new normal, this new reality that we are facing. And it's not over yet, so we have to keep going. But I think we are finding new ways to find it. Good news is tomorrow, apparently here in Japan, they're going to finally approve the vaccine. So, Japanese people will also start getting vaccinated very soon. Vaccines are going pretty well in the UK and in the US. So, we are getting there. So hold on and don't give up. And above all, don't feel bad about it. Just we're all going through the same thing. Try to be optimistic and help each other. I know a lot of people are also a little bit worried about, jobs and all of that, and I am too. And we are all feeling this, but we need to trust and have faith that things will improve. So let me just see who is here. Good evening from Brazil, from Del Porto. That's Leila. She's an actress. Monique Souza. Good evening, Renato. Love the Sophia Hudel. Thank you. Yes, this was a present from my friend from Sophia University, where I teach, and Monique is also a graduate from there. So there you go. Renata Hayashi, good evening from Aichi. Good evening to you. Thank you. So I think we have enough people. So I'm going to call. Oh, Miranda Kenrick checking in from Tokyo. Thank you so much. Abração da Nero. So Nero Niwa is another singer. Nero, you are going to love today's live because Nero is also a wonderful singer and she has her own lives on Sunday night. So I really recommend it to listen. Claudia Ito, Aru Albuquerque, Camila Sakihara, Henrique Manuel from Lisbon. Good evening, Enrique. Welcome. Really lovely to see all of you here. And I think without further ado, let's call our lovely guest from tonight. Is she there? Emily Tam. Good evening, Emily. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Oh, it sounds so close. It's like I can't believe you are in all the way in Australia, in Melbourne. How are things there? How is the weather?
It's summertime, so we have warmer weather at the moment. Yeah, today was a little bit cooler though.
Oh, good. So that
Mm.
kind of heat is letting up now. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
remember
in
that actually.
Melbourne.
As you know, I lived in Melbourne for 6 years, and it's very interesting how it's so hot in summer, like sometimes over 40 degrees, and then suddenly from one day to the next, you can drop 20 degrees, isn't it? And like suddenly you are in autumn already.
Yes,
Uh,
that's right. In
what?
10 minutes time, sometimes it drops 10 degrees. So
That's right.
that's
Four seasons
Melbourne.
in a day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wonderful. And here in Tokyo, it's still very cold, but today was pretty warm. So I went for a long walk and I enjoyed the nice weather. I got a little bit of red face, but it's lovely to be able to go outside without too many layers again. So it's
Mhm.
the opposite from we were coming into spring now. So today, let's talk about Emily Tam's wonderful career as a singer and very interesting life as well because she was born in Melbourne. Oh, she was actually born in Hong Kong, weren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
And then when did you move to Melbourne? How old were you?
Yeah, so I was only 4.5. And
Hmm.
then I basically grew up in Melbourne up to university. And then I lived in Japan for 6.5 years.
Hmm.
And then also in Brazil as well, in Londrina.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
So you've had this, you look so young, but you've had all these wonderful experiences already. And I'm kind of opposite from you. I lived 6 years in Melbourne, and then I've been in Japan all this time for more than 20 years now. But I was born in São Paulo. So three countries that, we both lived, Brazil, Australia, and Japan. So you have that in common. And
Mhm.
your career is so interesting because when you were here in Japan, that's I think when we started singing, wasn't it? Or were you singing before you came to Japan?
Well, I've always been interested in music, but it was mainly after I finished university and then going to Japan to work. That's when I officially started singing in bands and so forth. And I think it was from performing in Japan that I realized that actually that's what I want to do only. I only want to do music. So,
And now
um,
that's you've achieved that dream, haven't you? Because you're only working
yeah,
with music now, aren't you?
that's
Oh, well
right.
done. And we have
Mhm.
another thing in common too, which is something that Monique, who is watching us as well, also has, which is like we taught children here in Japan, right? Tell us about that experience. How was that?
Yeah, so I taught actually from kindergarten children all the way to high school students. I loved
Hmm.
it, teaching all of the students, all age groups.
That's
Um,
you, the time you were in Japan, isn't it? You're wearing a lovely kimono there.
yeah, so this was the time when I was teaching at a kindergarten in Yokohama, and it
Hmm.
was the children were so beautiful. They're
Yeah.
so innocent. They've got this pureness in them. Yeah, they're so yeah.
I know, I agree. And actually, thanks to Stephen Morgan, who is watching us today, he's a wonderful musician as well. He's a conductor. I met
Oh,
him singing in the choir, and he's a beautiful tenor as well, or actually baritone. And he introduced me to an elementary school. So it's, where I'm still working today. So I'm also an elementary school teacher, and I agree with you. Japanese children are absolutely lovely, and they have this purity that you mentioned. This kind
mm.
of open smile, and it's been a great experience. But when you were teaching, you also started singing. I think you were singing in a Brazilian restaurant, weren't you?
Yeah, so I sang in a number of bands, and yeah, we the bands would perform at restaurants or at bars, and sometimes shopping centers, sometimes at
Mhm.
Starbucks cafe, and so forth.
Oh, here's a nice
So
photo of you.
yeah,
Is that where is that? Is that a Brazilian restaurant?
that was in a bar called. It was in Kichijoji. Yeah,
Ah, is that
yeah.
Bar Aparecida?
Um, it's
No,
been
it's
such a
another one.
long. Yeah, this
Uh,
one's been quite.
but I can
Yeah.
see the Brazilian
Mhm.
map there, so it's definitely a Brazilian pub. Yeah. And
Mhm.
why did you? When did you start like enjoying Brazilian music? Because that's the other interesting thing, that you're Australian, but you sing bossa nova beautifully.
Thank
So
you.
how did that start?
So I actually started off doing jazz first, and I think when you get into jazz, Brazilian music like is
Overlaps,
very
isn't it?
much in. Yeah, that's right. And I guess when I started listening to, I think the first song that I listened to was Chega de Saudade,
Ah,
and also
yes,
Gingy, all
yes,
the Tom Jobim stuff.
yeah.
And I just fell in love with the music, and I couldn't go back. I just wanted to learn more.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and I'm so glad you did, because you've learned beautifully. I think, I was listening to your CD, which you just released, haven't you? Even despite the pandemic, you were able to release your CD. And what is it called again?
It's called Dois Oceanos,
Hmm.
and it's a collaboration with a Brazilian
Hmm.
guitarist based in Londrina. So
The,
the special thing about this project is, even though we're in two different countries, we continued playing music together and composing music, and eventually recording this
so you actually recorded it remotely, you in
separately.
Australia and the guitarist in Brazil.
Yes, that's right.
That's
Hmm.
amazing. I wonder how many people are doing that nowadays. Quite a few, I suppose, aren't they?
I think there might be quite a few. Yes. Hmm.
Yeah, well, actually, like that reminds me that this week we lost, Chick Corea, and he was a fantastic musician who was, I think a lot of people call him the father of fusion, because he was able to do this beautiful crossover, between bossa nova and jazz and all kinds of genres, but in a beautiful, smooth way that really influenced a lot of people, including a lot of Brazilian musicians, who admit they were influenced by Chick Corea, and vice versa. Chick Corea was really strongly influenced by bossa nova and by
Mm.
the greats of the 1960s Brazilian music. But yeah, we had to say goodbye to him this week, which I was very, very sad about, and I'm sure that a lot of musicians were as well. But this musician, what's his name again? The one in Londrina?
His name is Israel Laurindo.
Hmm.
Yes. Hmm.
And how did you know him? Like, was that a collaboration that you had done before?
Yeah, so when I was living in Londrina, I met him there, and then we did quite a few shows together doing bossa nova and samba music. We
Yes.
once had a show doing only Tom Jobim songs as well,
Wonderful.
so that's one that I really remember. And I guess after I moved back to Australia, I really wanted to continue our collaboration, and I suggested it, and
Mhm.
we went along with it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Lincoln is just. Could you put it back, Lincoln? Because I want to tell people who want to listen to Emily Tam and Israel Laurindo. Dois Oceanos is the name of the CD. It's available on the following platforms: Spotify, Amazon Music, Deezer, Apple Music, and YouTube Music. So, please go and listen to this wonderful creation. We are going to hear a song from that CD in a moment, and you see how wonderful it is. And you sing both in English and in Portuguese, don't you?
Yes, that's right.
Hmm. And okay, I think maybe we can. I think everybody must be very curious to listen to your voice. So, if you haven't heard yet, here is Emily Tam, and let's listen to her beautiful voice singing. What's the song you're going to sing for us first?
The song is called 7,000.
7,000. Okay,
Mhm.
Emily Tam singing 7,000.
Just wait a minute.
Yeah, of course, it's not going to be the wonderful quality that you hear when you hear CD, on those platforms, because we are doing a live here. But I hope that the voice will come through.
7,000 wishes in a year, though you haven't noticed. Inside you've so much fear. You're not happy, but your possessions help you smile. 7,000 pictures in a year. Those familiar faces you see there on the screen, wondering what it might be like to live the perfect life. The sea, the breeze, you're free. The sky says cry, you're free. Da, 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 da. So that was just a little snippet of the song.
Thank you. That's beautiful. That's so
Thank
nice.
you.
And people are really loving it. There are lots of hearts coming up here on my
Oh,
screen, and a few comments as well. Actually, Monique has identified the pub. She says it's Alvorada, and I love that place. That's where
ah,
the
yes,
photo
Alvorada,
was.
that's right.
So there you go. And somebody else wrote too, I love that place as well. And Roberto José da Silva, Roberto Casanova, I don't know if you heard about his name. He's a wonderful Brazilian musician based here in Japan. And his wife also sings bossa nova. He's loving it as well. And people are writing really lovely comments
Oh,
about you and about your voice as well. Afterwards, we are going to look at all the comments and reply. And please do the same. But I can tell you that it's a beautiful voice. She's wonderful, awesome. From Christiane Neves, who is another wonderful musician. She's a pianist. Maybe you can do a collaboration one day. There you
nice.
go, Christiane. Here's another suggestion for your wonderful career. She was here on a live as well, and she played beautiful Brazilian music as well, and a little bit of bossa nova, but she has her own style, jazz as well. She's fantastic. Del Porto, that is Leila, who is also a singer, sending a little rose, and there are lots of little emoticons here. Natalie Kikunaga said, beautiful. Maria Cristina Antoni said, wonderful, this distance between Australia and Brazil. I agree. And Stephen Morgan is asking you, have you ever ventured into singing fado? That's a hard style, isn't
Oh,
it?
Yeah, it would be challenging, I think. I think when I lived in Londrina, someone suggested that I learn,
Hmm.
but I don't think I've had the chance to yet. But I'm
It's a
open to
very
learn any
special
style.
way of using the voice, isn't it? The fado. It's quite difficult,
Mm.
and it's very different from bossa nova. But I think, yeah, maybe you just stretch your repertoire. You might enjoy that. I love fado, especially the lyrics are very beautiful, and there are a lot of people who sing the fado songs, but in a different style. I have even like heard fado songs in bossa nova style. So there you go, suggestion from Stephen Morgan, the great conductor who lives here in Tokyo. Um, okay, so let's go back to your career. So after this great stint in Tokyo, where you sang in bars and you met all these Brazilian people, I think you met a Brazilian person who became very close to you, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah.
So how
So
did that happen? Was that you were singing, weren't you,
yeah,
when
there
you
was
met
a
him?
Brazilian event in Tokyo at the time at the restaurant Kibon.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's how I met my husband because my husband is a photographer. So he was
Hmm.
taking photos for the event. And yeah,
How
that's
wonderful!
yeah.
And then, but then you didn't go to Australia straight away. Is that why you went to Londrina? Is that where Ricardo live? Family? Okay. And
Yeah, his
how did that happen? Like, how did you decide to? I think it has something to do with the earthquake, doesn't it? From what I remember, yeah.
Yeah, so when there was that big earthquake and tsunami, we decided that it was time to leave Japan because we had actually been thinking about, leave. It was about time to leave Japan at the time. So it was a trigger for us to, okay, let's do it now.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, so we decided to get married in Londrina and start a life there. Yeah.
And that is a huge contrast, isn't it? Going, from someone from Melbourne, then living in Japan, then going to Londrina. How did you find, Brazil? And especially for those who don't know, Londrina is in the countryside. It's quite inland, isn't it? It's like maybe that's Londrina, isn't it?
Yes,
Looks like
that's right.
there's
That
a,
was
yeah.
with one of my choirs that I sang with in
Oh, you sang in
Londrina.
choirs too. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. Hmm.
And but how was it? Because like I think you're like maybe 500 kilometers from the coast, aren't you, inland? And it's a beautiful area actually. I know the north of Paraná state in the south of Brazil, so it's not a very tropical kind of beach kind of places, and it's more like a cool uh, kind of a
Yeah, it's
mountain.
good.
Yeah. How did you enjoy that?
I liked living in Londrina. So it's a mid-sized city,
Hmm.
and but the weather was very nice. I think it was perfect that it wasn't overly humid. Going to Londrina, though, I have to say, even though in Japan I spent many years already singing Brazilian music in Portuguese, but I never really understood the language. I sang it without understanding it, which is a
Oh,
problem.
when you sing, it sounds perfect. Like, your
Oh, thank
accent
you.
is so good. I just listened to a couple of your tracks. Yeah.
And so when I moved to Londrina, I was without the language. And Portuguese is a very difficult language.
I know. I'm a
Yeah.
teacher. Yes.
Yeah, so it took me actually longer to learn Portuguese than to learn Japanese, I felt. But I got there with simple conversations. I
Well
still
done.
don't consider myself fluent. No, no
No,
way.
I have had short conversations with you, and I agree. You are very good, and you. I think you're fluent. It's just, of course, it's, as you said, it's a very hard language, and to speak it perfectly is really really hard. And my students here at Sophia University, for example, like they really struggle. It's one of those languages that it's very idiosyncratic. For example, if you learn Spanish, and Japanese too. They're very phonetic languages, so it's very easy to get the pronunciation. But Portuguese is full of in on, all these nasal sounds, isn't it? And the grammar, of course, that kind of Latin grammar and all of that. But you did it very well. For those, if you're wondering why this town is called Londrina, by the way, those watching it, it's actually from Londres. In Portuguese, London is Londres, and the city of Londrina is a relatively new city. And when it was founded, there was a lot of fog there. It's a highland area, so people called it Londrina, referring to the climate, of the British capital. I think it's nothing like London, but I understand what they mean about the weather. Did you know that, by the way?
Yeah, so
It's very interesting, isn't it?
yeah,
That's a name,
they
Londrina.
call it Little London.
That's right, Little
Yeah.
London. And then, how long did you stay there?
For 3.5 years.
Right, so that's good time, isn't it, to learn the language
Yeah.
and meet the family. Did you like
Hmm.
your new family?
Yes, actually, a lot of people say um, that it's hard to get along with mothers-in-law, but
Hmm.
with my mother-in-law, I got along with her really, really
Oh,
well.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And probably they thought you were Japanese, didn't they? Because there are lots of Japanese Brazilians in that. It's one of the places in Brazil where lots of Japanese went into because of the coffee plantations. The north of Paraná state is famous for that. So there are lots of people who look Asian, and but you are not Japanese Brazilian or Japanese Australian. You are Chinese Australian, right? So how was
Yeah.
that? Uh,
Yeah, so I blended in quite well, looking
mhm.
Asian.
Yes.
So if I didn't say anything, people
Mhm.
wouldn't know that I'm a foreigner. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it happens to my Japanese friends when they go to Brazil. People start, talking Portuguese with them, assuming they are Japanese Brazilians because there are so many of them, especially in the south, right? So
Mhm.
you wouldn't blame it. And how did you decide then to go back to Australia? So after those 3 years in Londrina.
Yeah, so we've got a daughter, so we wanted to raise our daughter in Australia, so that
Hmm.
was why, simply that. Yeah.
How old is your daughter now?
She's 6.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, great. So
Yeah.
you decided, and was she born in Australia?
No, she was born in Brazil.
All right,
So yeah, and
wonderful.
then we just waited a little bit
So she has
before
two
she turned.
passports, like me, Brazilian and Australian.
Not Brazilian. I forgot to do the Brazilian one. I
But she could have one if she wanted. I think the law
yes.
allows it. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
great. I'm the same. I'm born in Brazil, but I have an Australian passport, so I'm an Aussie, mate.
Hmm. Yay.
Yeah, great. And then arriving in Australia was another shock. This time for your husband as well. Like it was the first time, right? He was going to Australia, I suppose. And how was that adaptation then?
Yeah, I think in a way, Brazil and Australia is the thing that's similar is it's very easy to settle and feel that the country is a home in these two countries. So I think my husband settled down here pretty quickly. Yeah, and he already
Wonderful.
knew how to speak English already, so it
Yeah,
helped
that
a lot.
helps, doesn't it? And as you said,
Mm.
I think it's true, isn't it? I think both countries, Brazil and Australia, are very multicultural countries, aren't they? I mean, it's not a country where you stand out for what you look like. Here in Japan, I'm always a guy kokujin, a gaijin,
Mhm.
because I'm not Japanese and I would never be, and I think the Japanese culture is very homogeneous and very difficult for foreigners to adapt to. But Australia has so many cultures, right? Like when you arrive in a place like Australia, you can be whatever you like, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, and
And your
I think
family,
us. Yeah.
no, no, sorry, go on.
No, it's okay.
No,
I really like Australia for that we are so diverse.
yes.
Yeah.
And your family, like how have they been in Australia? Is that like a big family you have, or you have family in Hong Kong? How is that relationship between like Hong Kong and Australia?
Yeah, so my immediate family, everyone is here in Australia. But I've still got family back in Hong Kong. Yes, my aunts
Ah,
and everyone. Yeah.
wonderful. And have you've been there, of course, after you left?
Yeah. When I was young, I went there quite often,
Hmm.
but since actually the last time I went was when I was still living in Japan. So it's been quite a while since the last time I went.
It's a wonderful place. You have been there quite a few times. As you said, from here, from Japan, is not so far away. It's only a 4-hour flight. It sounds like a long
Mhm.
flight, but when we think about, Brazil to Japan, Australia to Brazil, these are huge distances. So Hong Kong feels like it's not that far away. And I have been there quite a few times. I love the culture, the food, and the place. I love Macau as well, because of the
Mhm.
Portuguese relationship and all that. Oh, great. So you have this, you have so many options, don't you? Like for your daughter as well, you have all these cultures at your fingertips. And the music, that's the great thing as well. So today, by the way, is the Japanese Chinese New Year. So we are now officially in the year of the ox. Did you do some celebration today?
No, because actually, midnight last night, we went back into lockdown.
I
Just a
heard.
short one,
Hmm.
so we had to cancel it.
PT, were you planning to see your family and have a nice meal and all of that?
Yeah, we were going to have a family dinner together, but we can just
Uh,
postpone. It's okay.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
safety first, of course. And I heard about this lockdown, which is a bit of a surprise, isn't it? Because Melbourne was doing really well. Do you think it has something to do with the tennis?
I yeah, I don't really know. It's the quarantine hotels and the staff, and then going into the virus going into the community. So they're just a little bit concerned just because it's the UK strain.
Yeah.
But yeah, just because of that. So, but we don't have high numbers of cases. We
And
just started the
vaccination
opposite.
has started, hasn't it, in Australia? How is it going there? Like, have has some people been vaccinated yet?
No, I thought the vaccine is from the end of February. Um,
Oh, so it hasn't started in Australia yet. I just
no.
assumed it had because Australia is doing really well. I mean, in terms of management of the
Mm.
COVID, it's really I think one of the most remarkable places because you were able to bring it down almost to zero, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right. It was actually because last year we had really long lockdowns. We basically stopped everything, and that was the way that we got the numbers low.
Hmm.
And we're doing our best to keep it that way.
That's right. Yeah, and
Mm.
it's Australia is quite far away, and it's an island as well. So I mean, there are lots of things that more easily done, I think, than in other countries. But it's also, I think, good management as well. I have to say, I'm very, very impressed with that. I just want to read a couple of messages. Very interesting. Happy New Year. Like, I mentioned that now Natalia Kikunaga is saying Happy New Year. Christiane Neves, the musician, is saying maybe an idea to make a video together in piano and voice. So there you go. I'm going to put you guys in touch. So maybe that can become a
Nice.
reality. Roberto is asking, does she speak Portuguese, Renato? And sim, ela fala português. Pode dar um
Um
alô para ele?
pouquinho.
É o Roberto Casanova. Hmm. Can you say hello to him in Portuguese?
Oi. Olá.
Well done.
I'm a bit shy when it comes to Portuguese, sorry.
I know, I know. That's okay. But actually, Roberto, she's going to sing in Portuguese for us in a moment. I mean, she's
Oh,
actually prepared a song so we can listen to her beautiful pronunciation. Monique Souza is saying Londrina is right next to my hometown, Assis. There you go. Maybe Emily has visited. Have you been to a town called Assis in Brazil?
yes. My husband and I, we used to go on a lot of motorbike trips,
Oh, how
and
cool.
this was we went to Assis once, yeah.
Oh, there you
It
go,
was
Monique. So
beautiful,
she's
very beautiful there.
Yeah, actually, I know quite a few people from Assis that lived in São Paulo when I was living in Brazil. I had a few friends from that town as well. It's a famous place, yeah. Natalie Kikunaga is saying, "Miss you guys here in Londrina." Do you remember her?
Yes,
Natalie. Yeah.
miss you
Maria
too.
Cristina. Yeah, that's nice. Maria Cristina Antonio said there is modern fado. It's a good suggestion to try. And actually, yes, maybe there's a singer, wonderful, wonderful suggestion. Maria Cristina Antonio is from London. She's a Brazilian friend who lives in London as well. And there's one singer that I really love called Marisa. Do you know her? She's a Italian Mozambican and she
Mm,
sings fado in a very new way, without that impostation, because fado can be quite a little bit almost like operatic,
mm.
but with the modern fado, that's there you go, it's for you to
I'll
try.
check it
M-
out.
Mika da Silva, who is Roberto's wife, and she's a wonderful singer as well, and you can see her lives. I think it's there on Wednesday night. Is saying muito linda.
Oh,
They,
thank you.
yeah. Stephen Morgan says, that is the musician. He says, gorgeous, effortless, floating, transporting. Wow, there you go. And this is from an
Thank
expert.
you.
Stephen is a wonderful singer himself. Yeah. Natalie saying, wonderful as always. Monica Ribeiro saying, "What a wonderful voice! I love her voice." Okay, there you go. So let's come back to your life and your career. So how do you see like your future? How do you see your career from now on? Now you have this fantastic. I'm so impressed that so many people are feeling defeated, by the pandemic, and you went ahead and you found this wonderful collaboration and you recorded a CD, which is really lovely. So how do you see yourself professionally in the next few years?
So I think my goal is just to improve myself as a musician. So I'm really blessed in that I have achieved my goal to do only music now. And I think from now on, I just want to be better and better. So I think a few years later, hopefully,
Hmm.
I'll be able to do more styles of music. I'm actually exploring classical music now.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
at uni, I'm starting to do classical voice, so which is very, very different from bossa nova.
Yes. Oh,
But
tell us
yeah,
about this photo with some
oh yes.
cellos.
So at the end of 2019, I met up with two of the musicians that I used to play with,
Hmm.
and we had a gig together. Um, After 10 years, it was 10 years since the last time I had seen them.
Wow.
And we did one rehearsal and then we did a gig together in Kichijoji again.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, I was so happy. I was
Wonderful.
speechless.
Yeah, it's incredible how much music there is in Tokyo, isn't there? I mean, the Japanese are such supporters of musicians. I mean, everybody who comes here is well received, and there is a following for even if somebody who's not very well known elsewhere here in Japan, surely somebody will know them and follow them. And I'm sure there'll be people who still remember you and wish you would come back and do a show. Doing shows is out of question now, isn't it, in Australia or anywhere really? But how do you
On
do
and
you
off.
miss on and off? You have been doing shows in Australia as well?
Well, I did one show at New Year's Eve, so that
Oh,
was at
wonderful.
a restaurant. But I'm actually singing at church at the moment, and I
Ah,
haven't actually stopped. I haven't stopped one week at all.
oh, wonderful. So you've
Yeah.
continued rehearsing despite the lockdowns and everything. It's okay to
Hmm.
go in.
Yeah.
And do you miss the like performing live on in front of an audience? Is something that you enjoy doing, or you like recording? What's your like favorite way to sing? Oh, there you go. There's you on stage.
I, I like it all.
Hmm.
I love recording. And I love performing in front of an audience. What I found though, the audience in each country is quite different. So in Japan,
Hmm.
people are really quiet and they
That's right.
listen to all the nuances in your voice
Yes.
as you sing. In Australia, depending on where you perform, um, sometimes it's a competition who's louder.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
In Brazil,
Especially the
it's more
pubs in Australia. I
scientific.
remember they're so loud, aren't they?
Oh yes, so loud.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt
Oh.
Brazil people listen, even though
Mhm.
it's I would say it's the in between of
Mhm.
Australia and Japan.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful. Great. And you play the guitar as well, don't you? Do you play any other instruments?
Yeah, so yeah, play the guitar, I play a tiny little bit of the piano,
Hmm.
and I was learning the flute. I need to get back into that.
Oh, you're a real musician.
I love it.
And in the choir, is the choir that you are singing now with in Australia, is that classical music, right? That you do. And are you a soprano or alto?
Yeah, so I would consider myself a mezzo soprano. I wouldn't
Right.
go right up that high.
Yes.
Yeah, at the moment with the pandemic,
Hmm.
choir activities have stopped. So I've been singing solo, which has been interesting.
Oh, wonderful.
Um, but
That's a
at
great way
like
to
during
improve
other
your
times,
confidence and experience, isn't it?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Uh-huh. It's very different from choral singing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think it's time for us to listen to you singing in Portuguese. And Emily Tam, for those who are tuning in now, the wonderful Australian singer Emily Tam, who sings very different. I'm learning lots of different genres, but the most known and what I knew you as a bossa nova and jazz singer. And she sings beautifully in English and in Portuguese. And this is Renato Brandão live from Tokyo. Emily Tam is now in Melbourne, in Australia, and she's going to sing a song in Portuguese
Yes.
from one of my favorite composers, songwriters, Chico Buarque de Holanda. Is a Brazilian guy who's now in his 70s, but he's still incredibly active and very, very beloved by Brazilians, of all generations, especially for his lyrics. He's a great lyricist. And what's the song that you prepared for us?
I'm gonna sing Choro Bandido.
Okay, let's listen to Emily Tam interpreting Chico Buarque on the guitar. Wonderful. Thank you so much. The beautiful, very, very sophisticated melody in the voice, so in tune, so you really understand, the style, the language. It's beautiful. I was very, very, very impressed, and I love that song. As I said, no, Chico Buarque is in my heart, and a lot of people. So many hearts are going up here. You have to
Oh,
go and check
thank
it
you.
later. It's really lovely. And Del Porto said, "Que voz doce e afinada." I agree, sweet and in tune. Chico Buarque forever. We're getting here. Um, and Isamu saying that the sound is a little bit muffled. What a pity.
Oh,
But as I said,
okay.
this is a problem we have with this platform that we use, which is StreamYard, and can't be helped. Like we had the same problem when we had the wonderful Cristiane Neves. The quality was not like 10% of what she deserved, and I say the same to you. That, but for those people who have noticed that technical problem, please go into those platforms. If Lincoln could show again your CD cover, because we can then, I'm sure that if we go into Spotify and all those platforms where your CD is available, that it is Dois Oceanos, Emily Tam, and Israel Laurindo. You can find it on Spotify, Amazon Music, Deezer, Apple Music, and YouTube Music. I'm sure the quality will be perfect. And is that song in there, the Chico Buarque that you just sang for us? Is that in your CD?
No, actually, in the album, they are all original songs.
Pity,
That
because I
was
would love
Israel.
to
Yeah.
listen to your Chico Buarque. But no, but I'm actually looking forward to the original song. And the original songs, you mean, are some of the songs yours as well?
Yes, so some
Oh,
are
so
my
you are a
compositions.
songwriter too.
Yes.
Ah.
And some are by Israel. Yes.
Great.
Mhm.
No, it's really beautiful. I heard the songs and they're fantastic. They're just so beautiful. And please go and listen and write down this name, because I am absolutely sure that Emily Tam is going to explode very soon and be very, very famous, because your style is beautiful. You have this unique appeal, and also the way you look, your personality, your experience in all of that. Is a lovely photo with you, the guitar. That is a photo I used for our publicity. Where was
Mhm.
that photo?
That was in Tokyo.
I see.
Yes. Mhm.
Great. And do you do like a lot of practice? Like, how do you keep up, your music, especially nowadays, you're a mother as well. Do you have a routine? And what do you have to say for people who are musicians as well and would like to be like you?
Well, as a musician, I have many projects and they all happen at very different times. So I don't have a set routine that the same time every day I practice. I just practice whenever I have any space um, to practice. And basically, it's a little bit every day. It's important to do it every day. And yeah, that's one of the things that I wanted to share with everyone as well. That even though I didn't start studying music from a very young age, you don't have to start it. Of course, if you can, that's great. But it's never too late. As long as you put all the hard work and all the practice into it, you can do it full time. Yeah.
That's a wonderful, very positive message, and I'm sure a lot of people appreciate it, because, yeah, I mean, that is incredible. I mean, it sounds like you have been singing since the moment you were born, because you are so good and you are so refined, with your craft. But to hear that, you started kind of relatively late is very reassuring, and I'm sure a lot of people will feel very encouraged by that. So, how old were you when you started singing professionally?
Professionally. So it was really when after I graduated from university and when
Hmm.
I started living in Japan. So that was when I was 20, about 20-ish.
No, it's still pretty young, but yes,
Very
it's not.
late.
You are not a child prodigy. That's what you mean,
No.
right? Yeah, but yeah, that's great. Yeah, and with musicians that you like, I mean, who are the inspirations in your life when you listen to music and you think, wow, I want to learn from this? Who are your masters?
Yeah, there are so many, but I would have to say my number one is actually Nada Leon. Um,
Ah,
yeah, just because I feel that she's a storyteller in when she sings. And I
yes.
think when you sing a song, you're telling a story, and if you can portray it and make people feel things, then you're doing a really, really good job.
For those who are not Brazilian, maybe they don't know Nara Leão. She was called the muse of the bossa nova. She was a very sweet Rio de Janeiro girl, and she had this, bangs in the 1960s, and this very, very sweet voice. And she really, the reason she's called the muse of the bossa nova is because she is pretty much the inventor of this breathy, kind of chesty voice that is typical of bossa nova. She's kind of maybe the one who invented, that way of singing, or not really, because I think that was João Gilberto. He was the one who created that style, but she really embraced it, and it was so suitable for her voice, wasn't it? She sounded perfect singing those bossa nova hits, and I'm not surprised. But I'm also very flattered that your one of your idols is a Brazilian singer. So thank you very much. Yeah, I think she's wonderful as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
and
I'm always,
with yes.
but I'm always open to listen to more singers as well, because I think from every singer, there's always something that I find that I like about it, that I want to try to learn it.
I know. I'm the same. I'm always listening. Same with classical music, which I'm always listening to new singers, new opera singers, and I'm always looking for that. And I think it's it's an evolution, isn't it? I mean, the talent every time you get like yourself. I mean, you are a new reincarnation of bossa nova, and there's so much that it's wow. How did she do that? I mean, it's just a real new style, new way. Even though you're doing songs that are not necessarily new genre, but you are doing it your way. And that's the
Hmm.
same with classical music. We listen to the same operas so many times, but every generation, comes with a new breath, a new style, and things just get better and better.
Hmm.
Mary Claire is saying, "Hello, Emily Tan. It's good to see
Oh,
you in this live. Bom
hello,
ver você."
Marie.
Isn't that nice? Isamu Enomoto also said, "Excelente artista, parabéns." So there you go.
Obrigada.
Oh, it's please. Sorry if we are not uh, looking at all the messages now, but as I said, we will come back to your messages and reply to them and find out your opinion. So keep writing, and if you have any questions, we still have a few minutes here. If you have any questions for Emily, this is your chance. Please send it to us, and we can answer them. And if you want to answer, ask in Portuguese, please feel free. Oh, you're looking very poppy there.
That one was actually at the Samba Carnival at
Ah,
Asakusa. Yeah,
oh wow, you went to the Samba Carnival in Asakusa. That's so crazy, isn't it?
it was very fun.
Yeah, we have a friend. I don't know if Ricardo, your husband, remember. Probably, I'm sure he does. Marcelo Sudo. Did you meet him? He's a
Um,
he's a Brazilian guy who lives here, and his wife is incredible. She's Japanese, 100% Japanese, but she can dance the samba better than many Brazilians. I was so impressed. But as you probably saw as well, lots of Japanese really get into the samba, don't they?
yeah. Well, I tried to learn the samba, and when my husband saw me, he said I looked like I was dancing on top of fire. So,
I can't say anything. I'm a terrible samba dancer. That's a real, it's a frustration that has been with me my whole life because, I say I'm from Brazil, especially when I lived in London, where, they just say, oh, you're Brazilian, you can dance the samba. And we're like, oops. I'm more like a gringo dancing the samba.
but people in
So,
London love samba, don't they?
yes,
They've
they
got,
have a
yeah,
similar,
samba neighborhood.
Akihiko Shinagawa is saying Asakusa, he recognized it. And the same thing happens in London. There is, in the famous, what's the name of that neighborhood? That's the same name as the movie, Notting Hill, the movie Notting Hill. There is a neighborhood, as you know, in London called Notting Hill, and they have the Notting Hill Carnival. And a lot of Brazilian people go there and do the same thing, the parade with the samba and all of that. I think it's usually May, June. It's a little bit chilly in London, so at least in Tokyo it's very hot, isn't it? You really
Yeah.
feel like you're in Rio.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's in August. Our carnival is actually this weekend. Did you know?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, this is a carnival weekend, but this year, yeah, I don't know if we are actually hoping that there won't be any carnival because as it is now in Brazil, that it's too dangerous. Like there are too many, infections and all of that. But I'm sure there will be some kind of festivity. We forget, don't we, that it's Carnival because we're so far from it now.
Yes, I know. And they don't talk about it here.
Yeah, well, if there's no parade, but like usually today's Saturday, right? So that's Saturday. The biggest day is Monday, Tuesday. So Tuesdays when they have all the parades. So they might, if they are doing the parades in Brazil, they will pop up on TV
Okay,
this
I'll check
weekend. Yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah. So, of course,
yeah.
in Brazil, in the similar thing is Mardi Gras in Australia, isn't it? Which is kind of same time, a little bit later. But this year, no, right?
No, no.
No, pity, because that's a huge event as well, isn't it?
Mm.
Mm.
But yeah, lots of things are being cancelled, but it's not going to be forever. I think things eventually will get back to normal.
That's the spirit.
That's
That's
the hope.
exactly how I feel. We just have to be patient, and I know it's so frustrating, but I'm feeling calm about it now. Actually, being in Tokyo helps because the Japanese are so there's no hysteria, there's nobody throwing tantrums or like complaining about the mask or anything. People just put on the masks and carry on, which is really what we should be doing. But
Mm.
I do feel a little bit for my friends, especially in Brazil, because a lot of people are feeling very scared and like a little bit hopeless, as in terms of not being able to do much to improve the situation. So
Yeah.
my heart goes out to them. But and I think we are lucky to be in Australia and in Japan, where things are a little bit calmer.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
on that note, I think it's about time we start saying our goodbyes. It's only 4 minutes to go. But before we go, let me just see: are you planning any events after the pandemic? That's one question that came. So I wanted to answer that, but also I wanted to send a message to people who have been watching us with your calm and beautiful voice, and just tell us how music can help us.
So, first of all, what I'm planning after the pandemic, because I haven't actually properly promoted the album that we released at the start of this year, and I would really like to either invite Israel Laurindo to come to Melbourne or myself to go to Brazil to do shows to share our music or even write more together. So that's something that I am looking forward to, I should say. I think at this time, even though, especially with singing, there's quite a lot of restrictions happening, because of the virus. I think we should still find our ways to keep singing, because it brings so much joy to our souls and it brings other people joy too. So even if we have to sing in our own homes, keep doing it. Don't stop singing.
Yes.
And then when we can again, we'll all sing together.
Wonderful. And I hope that you said you want to go back to Brazil, and I hope you come back to Japan as well. And I'm sure that
Yes,
when you come,
of course.
we will find lots of places for you to show your beautiful work, and keep spreading this joy of Brazilian music, especially bossa nova. And it's for all of us Brazilians, it's a huge pride, to find somebody like you from such a faraway land, like falling in love and understanding our music and our language so well, and you know, bringing back this magic that sometimes we feel, are we losing it in Brazil with so many problems recently? We feel so desolated sometimes. But as I've been saying here, I mean, we've had so many wonderful Brazilians of talent, and it's just a moment. We're going through a bad moment, like the whole world. Like we've had some really really hard times, but when we look at the talent and the hope and the faith and all those positive things that come from Brazil and Australia and so many other places, we can only be hopeful as well. So thank you so much for agreeing to be my live streaming, Emily.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
No, it was a pleasure, and good luck in your career. I'm sure that you're going to, fill many hearts with joy and beautiful music. And for all of you who have been watching us, thank you so much. Renato Brandão Live is back next week in Portuguese. We are planning another live streaming in English, probably later in March or in April. So keep tuned. And for all the Brazilians, from next week we are doing a special on disasters because we're coming close to 11th of March, the anniversary of the big thing. So we're going to talk about some important information about how we can prepare ourselves living in Japan. And that information is useful for everybody because, as like disasters are, part of life, and to understand how the Japanese do it, like this preparedness that they have is a big lesson for all of us. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for staying up so late, Emily, and I'll see you
Thank
next
you.
time.
Pleasure. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.